Hey everybody, this is the Beginner's Guide to Weebly webinar. I am Raya, I'm a content producer here at Weebly, and I'm going to walk you through the basics of how to build your site, how the editor works, and how to publish. So I am in the editor right now. When you start with Weebly, we start you off with a few pages and we drop you in the editor so you can go ahead and start building. This is the Build tab right here. This is where you're going to find all of the elements that you're going to build your site with. We've got title, text, we can drag and drop them on, you can edit them here, and that's how those work. We're going to go into more detail. I'm just going to show you the basic tabs right now. The next tab is Pages. Any pages you want, you add them here. Right now you can see I have 4 pages. One is hidden, so there's 3 up here. I also have a cart because I've got a few products. We'll go to that in a second. The Theme tab is where you're going to make your design changes. So you can change your theme. We'll also go through that in a second. You can change any fonts right there. You can also edit the HTML and CSS. The Store tab is next. We do have a store specific webinar, so I'm not going to go into too much detail here. This is just where you can add products and really run a store through Weebly. Settings is next. This is where you will find all of your, you guessed it, settings. Your site address, your site title, formatting, SEO, adding editors, and so on. This big orange button up at the top right is the Publish button, which we will also go through later. And then the question mark, you can access our support center and our agents right there. Okay, let's go back to the Build tab. So we added a title element. We added a text element. These are 2 elements that are super important. The text element might be the most used element of your site because you're probably going to want some text on your site. If you click on it, so we dragged it in, let's just do that again. You click on an element and hold it, and then you drag it over and you drag it onto your page. So I'm going to click in here and I can just start typing and there's my text. I can also copy and paste. Let me copy some text. Come back and paste it in and there's all my text. If you have any formatting, you might notice that it gets removed. So right there I had a little space and it removed it. Any formatting you have is going to be stripped because you're going to want to do all of your formatting in the editor, and this is going to help with having a really uniform site and having the design be, consistent. If you click in here, you can see we've got some controls. You can highlight your text, you can make it bold, italicize, underline. I don't want any of those. I can undo that. You can make it bigger, you can make it smaller. You can change the color here. We've got a range of colors here, and then you can really do any color or enter a hex code. We've got a place for a link. We've got alignment and so on. Okay, So we've added some text. Let's just X out of there. We've got a title. Let's add an image. So again, you go over to the element you want, you click on it, hold and click, and drag in. So we'll drag that right on. And now you may have noticed that as we added more elements to the pages got a little bit longer. So that's what's going to happen. The more elements you add, let's add a map. Let's add a button. This is actually going to create a column which we'll go through. We got a button. Our page just gets longer and longer. So there you go. Let's add this image here. I click on upload image. You can drag a photo in. You can click this button to search your computer. I'm going to drag one in, but first you can search for images. So let's say my site is a bicycle shop, so I'm going to search for bikes. You can buy photos here for $5. There's also free photos which you can use. You can search through those. Or you can enter a URL. I'm going to use one from my computer, so I'm going to drag it in here and just drop it, and then it uploads. There we go. So you can see that this picture, when I uploaded it, it now fits almost the width of the entire page. And I don't really want it that big. So I'm going to click on the image again. It brings up this dialog box. It also brings up this little tiny blue square here, which I can use to resize the image. Okay, make it smaller. I can make it bigger. Here I can edit the image. We've got an image editor where you can make some small changes. I'm going to go ahead and cancel that. You can also crop it through there. Click on the image again. You can replace it. I can link to it here. So that means if on my published site a visitor clicks on the image, it will take them to a page on my site or someone else's site or a blog post. Excuse me. I can align it differently. I can add spacing. You really can just mess around with it a little bit. Okay. So I've got some text. I got an image. I want to add some columns. So I would like the image right next to the text. With the image, I can do this in two ways. I can actually drag the image into the text element. If I click and drag it in, you can see this blue box appears within the text element. And that means it's going to go right inside the element and become one. You can only do this with one text element each. So if I had another image element, let's say, I couldn't drag this one into because we don't allow that. I can, however, and you can also adjust the spacing here through that dialog box. If I don't want it inside the text wrapped around like this, I can pick it up and drag it somewhere else. I'm going to drag it right next to the text. So you can see as I'm moving things around, this blue line appears. This is going to tell you where the element goes. Let's resize this. So I just made two columns. I'll show you that again with the blue line. So the blue line's up here. Now it's to the right. Now it's to the right of the text element. drop it again. If I want to change the width of these columns, I can drag this to the left or to the right. It locks, it snaps into place. If you hold the shift key, excuse me, if you hold the shift key down, as it says in the bottom right, you can go smoothly and really wherever you want. So let's say there. All right, so we've got two columns. As you may have noticed, I was moving elements around using this blue box in the middle. If you hover over an element, this blue outline will appear around the entire element. And we've got three controls. We've got this mover in the middle, so I can hover and pick it up, drop it anywhere I want. On the left side, we've got an arrow, which means I can move it to another page, which will remove it from this page and completely move it to that page. I can copy it to this page or another page, which means I will now have two of the same elements, one on each page. I can also, on the right hand side is X, I can delete it. Make sure that if you're deleting elements, you absolutely want them gone because you cannot get them back. I do want that gone, so now it's gone. I'm also going to remove this text element, and then I'm going to edit this title. Let's just say about us. Okay. Sorry. Okay, so there is a new element and feature that I'm going to go through too, and that is sections. So before, you wouldn't necessarily be able to move a large group of elements around. You can click on this column, and I can move a set of columns around. Sorry, let's move this down. I could move this entire set of columns around. I could also move it to another page with this arrow. With sections, I can actually move this entire section around. And we can add backgrounds and a bunch of other things. So each page will come with one section. This is a section from below the button text to above the About Us. If I click on it, so this white space around here, I can edit the background, I can move it. So that's similar to the arrow. I can move it on this page up or down, I can move it to another page, or I can copy it, or I can delete it. And again, once deleted, it's gone. So be very judicious with that. I can also edit the background. Let's click on that section again. If I click Edit Background, I can add an image. So I can choose from stock images that we have. I can upload my own image here. Let's say this one. You can also zoom, blur, darken, save that. That is a little busy, so maybe we edit the background again. I'm going to try color this time. You can, similar to the text, you can add a hex code here, and you can really play with a range of colors. Let's just make it a very light gray. If you have a pro account or above, you can add video. So this is a new feature. We've got some stock videos that you can add. If you hover over the video, you can see a preview. You can scroll through what we've got here. Here's some nice fish. And you can see it previewing on the site itself. If we scroll up, you can also see you can upload your own video and just make sure it's the correct file size and type. I think that's a little bit too busy, so I'm going to go back to color and exit out of there. So if I wanted to add another section, the section element is over here on the left, right under structure. Pick it up, drag it on, right above this section, and it adds a new one. As you can see, once I drag it on, it prompts me to add a layout. Excuse me. We've got some general headers here, which are great. You can add anything you want. This is just a guideline. If I click contact, it'll give me some layouts that I might want to use. These are just starting points. So really just, you know, if you don't have a menu, you can use the menu layout. It's just there to help guide you along on what you might want to use. Let's go into featured, scroll down. I like this one, so let's choose that. It's going to apply it. I can save it or cancel and choose another one. I'm going to save it. So now you can see this section is above this one I already had. I can add elements to it just like before. I'm going to add a map. And you can edit them. And you can delete them. And delete the spacer. Okay. Let's go back to move. I decided that I wanted this section below the other one, so I'm going to go to move section on this page, and then down, and then it'll go right below it. Simple. Okay. So just to reiterate, these templates are just that. They're there to help you start. You don't need to keep the elements. You can delete them. You can edit them. I can edit this background as well, just like before. Anything I want. Or I can delete it. I just did. Okay. So let's add some pages. The next tab here, pages. If you click this plus button, you can add a page. Standard page is the first one. This is going to be the page you add 99% of the time. Most pages on your site will probably be standard pages. So let's add one. You can call it anything you like. The name will appear here under page name, but also here in the navigation. So make sure it's something that you want your visitors to see. This is a bike shop, a fictional bike shop. So let's say we want it to be bike time. I can choose to have a header, no header, or splash page. This is also new. If you've been in our editor before, we recently changed the header types. They work similarly to sections now. A splash page is going to be a very large image, very impactful, which you can drag some elements on. This essentially works like one complete section, so you cannot add other sections to this type of page. No header is simply that. There's no header. And header, this is going to be an editable header that we will go over in a second. Next up is visibility. The default visibility is public. You can also change this to be a site password, which you would set under settings, or add members or groups. Excuse me. Let's put it back to public. If you didn't want this page visible at all to anybody, you could hide it in navigation, and it would not show up here in your navigation. The third is SEO settings. We also have a webinar on SEO, which goes through all of the things you can do to improve SEO for your site. So you can add descriptions and keywords. Something to note, if you really wanted your page hidden, you could hide it from search engines so no one could actually find it. We'll leave that unchecked. Go back. All right. When you're done, hit save, and it's added to your list. We're just going to add some more pages. Let's say this page is tires and things. We're going to save it. I'm just going to add a bunch of pages to show you something. Keep on going. Okay, so I've added so many pages that in my navigation, I have this tab called More. So Weebly automatically puts all your overflow pages under a More tab. This kind of looks janky, so let's look at how we can fix that. So instead of just having all your pages here, I recommend you have some hierarchy to your pages. So if you want to move pages around in your navigation, you can pick them up, hover over, and you see this little 3 dot. You can move it up. You can move them down, and they rearrange within your navigation. You can also pick it up and to the right, and it snaps under that page. Pick it up. Look, I have 2 Byte Basics. I'm gonna put that there, put this up and under, this one up and under, this one under, this one under, and let's say I want news to be right there. So now I rearrange my navigation, and I have these underneath Byte Basics, so it's a little bit more organized. If I hover over Byte Basics, you can see the pages here, and that is exactly how your visitors will see it. Any page you move to the very top will become your home page. You can see this little home icon there. Let's move home back up. And like I mentioned before, if you hide a page from navigation, it will have this icon, this little no eye right there. All right. So next up is the theme tab. Let's change the theme. Let's look at some themes. So we organize your themes for a little help. Again, like the layouts, if you don't have an online store, you can still choose one of these themes. This is just meant to show off the potential and help you narrow your focus. So we can just kind of click through all these. If you hover over them, you can see the theme name. You can preview it. This will show you what it will look like on your site. So it shows the elements I have here. You can see the text font is different because it's the default for that theme. I'm going to cancel that. Let's go back to featured. I like this one. So I'm just going to go ahead and choose it. And it applies it. So it just applies the new theme. All of your elements should still be there. Like I said, the text is default for that theme. If you want to change the text, you can go back to theme and go to change fonts. So if you hover over these options, you can see that we highlight on the right what it's actually going to change. So this is the headline. We're going to change the headline font. Let's click in there. Right now it's the default. You can choose any of these. Let's say Playfair. You can change the style, the size, the weight, the color. Here's a small range. If you click to expand, you can see you can change it or add a hex code. Let's get it back to white. You can make it uppercase or not. Space the letters, space the line height. If we had say 2 lines, that's where you would show it. All right, let's make this uppercase. Don't really like that font. I'm going to choose that one. And go back. Title, text. Yeah, so you can change the font for many elements and you'll find them here. We're going to leave the rest as they are. Since we changed themes, this theme actually has a bunch of different color options. The color can be apparent in a few elements. Social icons is one, so I'm going to drag that on. Buttons is another. I'm going to drag that on as well. Let's actually drag that into the header. Okay, so let's go back to theme, change fonts. Here you can see buttons is highlighted. I can change the text here. Let's just make it default. Uppercase or not. And there we go. Okay, I meant to go to colors. That's what I meant. So if I change the colors, it might change the header here. It might change the nav. You can see the button style is different per color. Sometimes the social icons will change color. See, it changes if I hover. So you can play around with what you want the color to look like if it has a color option there. Excuse me. We have a few more theme options. Full width or not. Sometimes this is applicable and sometimes it's not, so it depends on the theme you have. If you are adventurous and want to edit the HTML or CSS, you can do so here. I do not want to do this, and we are not going to go through this. So let's just cancel. All right. Now that we've added a button to our header, I'm just going to go ahead and go over the headers for a second. So similar to sections, you can edit the background. I can also resize it here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. You can add any element to the header that you want. This is also new. So if you haven't used the editor before, then it doesn't matter. If you have, this is some added functionality, which is pretty great. I'm going to change my title. I'm going to move my button. Actually, I'm going to move the title to the left. Seems like it's having some trouble. Let's add some text. I'm going to add text to the button as well. And I'm going to link it. So in this dialog box, you'll click on link. And this function is available with text and image. You can link a lot of things. Image, sorry, the text isn't loading. I'm going to reload the page for a second. Looks like we're having some trouble. Okay, hopefully that sticks. So if you highlight some text, you can also link it here. This is the same functionality as the button. So let's do the button link. So I can link it to any page, just insert the URL. You can choose to open in a new window or not. Let's link to a standard page. Let's say contact, because I want them to contact me. You could link it to a product page if you had products, a blog post if you had blog posts, phone number, a file that they can download. So you would upload a file and then your customers could download if they clicked on that link, or you can add an email. So let's stick with the page and go back. Let's change our text again if we can. And make sure the style is what we want. Let's do that one. All right, let's put this in the middle. So that's our header. I also want to add my logo here. So I'm going to add an image element. And my logo is transparent. so it will show up in front of the image. Looks pretty cool, right? Something else I want to note is that the site title here, if you don't have a logo, you can mess around with the font to make it unique to how you want your site title to look. If you have a logo, you can upload it. Mine is actually white, as you can see here, so it doesn't show up on the white background. So let's just turn it off. If you hover over it again, you can see the controls are still there and you can change them. All right. So we've gone through some links and we edited our header. I can change the header layout. Header layouts are similar to the section layouts, but they're specific for headers. To change it, you have to delete it. Let's go through these. Similarly to sections, if you choose a layout, you can delete, you can edit, you can add as many elements as you want. You can also change the background. Some of these have video, like this one. If you hover over, you can see it has a little upgrade icon here, which means you need a pro or above to use this. Say we want that because, of course, this is a fake bike shop and we can edit it as we like. Okay, we will edit it later. Let's add a blog page. So go back to Pages and click on the plus. And right under Standard Page is a blog page. Let's add it. You can leave it as a blog. You can name it anything you want. I'm going to say it's Bike Talk because I'm goofy like that, I guess. Change header or no header or splash. Like before, we don't want to do splash because that might look weird with the blog. Let's save it. I want it in a different place in my navigation, so I'm going to put it right there. And there it is. So now that we have a blog page, we can add posts. So click on New Post on the bottom right, and it creates it. We can add a title. We can drag elements into this space here. So let's say a text element and a title element and an image element. Same as all of the other pages. You can move them, to create columns. You can click in and edit it. You can search or upload photos. Okay, so say I'm done writing my blog. You can go under Post Options, which is located in the bottom left. Click on that. You can choose if you want to publish this immediately. If it's selected here, this orange button in the upper right will say Post. If I click that, it will post immediately to the live site. If I save it here, it will save it as a draft. I can also click on this arrow and discard it. If I click Schedule a time, You can choose the time here. Let's say I want to post it in a week at 12. And right now, the orange button in the upper right has changed to schedule or delete. If we go back under publish, you can edit the share settings, and this is where you would add Twitter and Facebook. You need to link the accounts, and then you can share them once you post your blog. Let's avoid that. You can choose comments, open, closed, or approval. And then you can add categories here. Let's say bunnies. For some reason, I am a bike shop that also likes bunnies. Maybe that's my gimmick. Let's say these are my two categories. Once you have these categories, they can appear here on the right-hand side of the blog. Here's your secret draft link and some SEO under advanced. All right. Instead of scheduling, I'd like to return it to immediately. And then I'm actually going to save this because I'm not quite done yet. So now next to the new post button here on the bottom right, we have a drafts button. If you click on it, this is where my draft appears. I can click on it again to edit. We seem like we have some trouble with erasing this content, so that's not great. It looks like a little bug. I'm going to go ahead and save it again. You can add as many posts as you want here. You can work on comments here. And blog settings will take you to your settings tab and blog, where you can adjust some of the settings for the page. Okay. You can choose commenting systems like Discuss or Facebook and change visibility and whatnot. Always save when you're done, and then we can go back to working. Excuse me. Okay, so that's a lot. That's a lot of the elements. Let's go back home. I'm going to show you a couple more elements. Right now, this page looks pretty not great. Let's go to contact. I would like to add a contact form so that my customers can contact me. I'm going to click and drag the contact form element on, and there's the contact form. If I click on it, I can edit this title. I can edit each of these individual elements, required or not, add some instructions. Let's say I wanted to add a drop-down box. I can edit that. Let's say, how'd you hear about us? And then change these options. Okay. Make it required or not. Let's say no. And there it is. If you click on the form itself or form options up here, you can change the email where the form submissions should go. These will show up on your dashboard as well as going to the email. You can also rename it. If you have a lot of contact forms on your site, it's it's good to rename them so that you know which form the submissions are coming from. Okay, let's save that. Save, please. Another popular element is the embed code. That is right here. Let's add that. So maybe you know some HTML, maybe you don't. This is going to be a really good element if you want to add, say, a Twitter feed or a video from YouTube or Vimeo. A lot of times if you, let's just go to Vimeo. A lot of times if you click on a share icon or an embed, it will give you code to embed. So I want to embed this video. I'm going to click on that and copy it. And then go back to Weebly, click on my HTML embed code element and paste it. And then that video is going to appear. So what else can we use it for? YouTube is similar. Let's say bike because bunny might produce some weird results. This seems fun. I'm going to go to share and embed, copy this code, drag another embed code element on, paste it here, and there's that video. So it's just a little handy element that you can add. Again, like I said, Twitter feeds are really popular, Instagram feeds, so that it can appear on your site, and it really just requires minimal coding. Click on it again to just position, and then you can edit it there. Okay. Let's say we're done with this, this very, very beautiful site. We're done, or done enough, and we want to publish it. So I'm going to publish it right here. Now it's published. So now all my changes are live. You want to make sure that every time you make a change to your site, or you make a change to settings, or you make a change to, you say you add SEO, or you change a contact form, you want to publish your site again, because you want to make sure that your visitors see those changes, or search engines see those changes. So let's click on that, and we're going to see our very, very beautiful site live when it loads, which it is doing right now. It's still loading. Okay, so let's go back. While that's loading, let's go to settings because I want to change this. So if you haven't chosen a domain yet and you click publish, you're going to see this window. Here is where you can use a subdomain of Weebly, which is free. This is great if you have something that you're not quite ready with and you just kind of want to see it in action. You don't really need like a fancy domain. Or if it's something that you're just sending to some friends, maybe you want to use this subdomain. Every other time, it's probably a good idea to have a domain that you own because you don't want Weebly's name all up in your business, literally, in your business's domain. So you can register a new domain that you don't have. If we start typing, it'll show you here if it's been taken or not. That's been taken. That has not. So I could go ahead, click continue, and register that domain with Weebly. I can also connect a domain I already own. So you add it here. And then you would click continue, and it would show you the steps to connect it using the hosting service you already have. Okay, we want to stick with this subdomain because it's really easy right now. Click continue, and let's see if we can publish my site. Might not be working right now, which is really great. This is, of course, what happens when things are live. We're going to wait on that. And go back. Let's go to the dashboard of your site. If you click on this W in the upper left, that will take you to your dashboard, which I hope will load. Here it is. So this will show you stats for your site, which you can click into. We've got page views, we've got unique visitors. You can see blog comments if you have some. You can see form entries if you have some. They will be listed by the post or the form, and then you can click in to see what they've said. You can export them here and close that out. You can edit your site with this button once you are ready to do so. If you click on this one right beside it, you can copy it or you can delete it. Okay, so my published site is finally working. So here it is. So everything is active. Your customers can email you here. Contact forms are active. We've got our lovely videos here. It looks really good. Say a visitor submits, they see a thank you, and then you will see it in your dashboard and you will get an email. See, look at that. Raya says hi. I could also delete that if I wanted to. Okay. We have several resources for you. This is our help center, which is hc.weebly.com. You can search and find lots of useful information. Let's say I want information on those contact pages. You can find it here. We also have community.weebly.com, where you can ask your fellow Weeblies who've been there before. You can find some tips. And these are really going to be great resources as you run into problems, as you get stuck and want some help. Another great resource is our blog and inspiration center. You'll find tips, especially if you have a business, great tips on emails, on call to actions, on new features we have, just lots of great ideas and help. So hopefully you are in a good position to at least start your site, get it published. Don't be afraid of the publish button. If you're feeling a little resistant, go ahead and publish, see how it looks. You can always make changes. You can always hide pages that you're still working on. And come back for other webinars. All right. Have a good day, everybody, and happy website building. Bye.